Standard geology tells us that incremental processes over eons of time have shaped our planet's surface. Weathering, erosion, and plate tectonics are the primary processes that geologists believe have defined our planet's visible features. As planetary scientists have explored our own moon and other heavily cratered bodies, they have considered collisional impacts and volcanism as the possible cause of the craters, leaving countless anomalies unresolved. However, overwhelming evidence suggests that other processes not included in geology textbooks have left their indelible mark upon the Earth and other planets. A growing field of scientists and independent investigators are exploring the geological effects of high-energy electrical discharges in a relatively recent epoch of planetary instability. A key figure in this field is Michael Steinbacher, a professional photographer who has studied the geological formations in the American Southwest. Michael is scheduled to speak at the forthcoming conference EU2015, Paths of Discovery, taking place June 25th to 29th in Phoenix, Arizona. Today, Michael offers a brief introduction and overview of his talk, where he will present a photographic illustration of the electric universe catastrophist model. A link to Michael's YouTube channel can be found in the description box of this video.
My talk is basically going to be on the catastrophic geology model. Fortunately for all of us, we have Billy Yelverton doing experiments showing what happens when you have dusty plasma and electromagnetic events taking place. He's making what looks like mountains. Sometimes they're circular formations, sometimes they look like galaxies. At my request, he did an experiment using a channel of water with an electromagnetic event, an anode and a cathode on either side, and he released dolomite and clay from above. And it did what I had hoped it would do. It prevented accumulation. It didn't erode a canyon. It prevented accumulation where the water was flowing. And in between the two anode and cathode electrodes, materials seemed to accumulate preferentially. And it seemed to be wet, as if water was being pulled up or wicked, somehow being involved with the process. And it made something similar to the Grand Canyon. And he's repeated it, and it has scalloped edges at times. So it really looks like what you see in the field. It's very confirming, I think, of the model that I'm proposing. Dolomite is a wonderful mineral. It has all sorts of problems if you want to explain it having been created on the Earth in the quantities required for what you find in the mountains and associated with oil. It just doesn't form unless the ocean is boiling and full of uric acid, urine, which is not very likely. On the other hand, NASA was shocked when they went through the tail of Halley's Comet and collected dust. They found 7% dolomite, and they think it's understated. They also found limestone. They've also found everything required to explain pretty much the entire geologic column in comet dust, and not just one comet, but they're all sharing these anomalies, hydrocarbons and dolomite and limestone, and things that really shouldn't be there, things that people thought required water. And this dolomite seems to have fallen from the sky as described by our ancestors. And it seems to have been at the very end of these catastrophic processes, because in many instances, it's the very tops of the mountain. The Dolomites of the Alps are these beautiful cliffs, and you have a windward and a leeward side at the very top of the Alps. There's dolomite all through Nevada, west of Las Vegas, the tops of the mountains. And it's layered with shale, dolomite shale, as if it's being sorted ionically, I think, by a twisted Berkman current. And then the other fascinating thing about dolomite is that it's reported that oil rained from the sky for days and nights by our ancestors, again, eyewitness accounts. And dolomite is where most of the oil that's been recovered prior to fracking has come from, because it's porous. So the oil in Saudi Arabia and Texas and California and all over the world prior to fracking, the vast majority, except for tar sands and things like that, has come from dolomite formations because they're porous, and if you put a pipe in it, you can suck it out. as opposed to shale, which is a solid rock. So it fits nicely with the hydrocarbons that are available from comets, according to NASA, and the dolomite that's available from comets, and it's all laid out in nature, in the geologic column, and it's where we get our oil from. For the longest time, I kept looking for electrically excavated canyons, and I didn't really see them. I was seeing what appeared to be fluvial, things that got smaller as they went uphill and stopped before they got to a ridge, and then started on the other side of the ridge, back down again, repeating what was on the previous side. So it looks like it's a water event. And then I stumbled on Zion Canyon, which I had been to before, but looking at Google Maps, I noticed things that just weren't right. And you can see that it's completely different than the fluvial excavations, fluvial drainages. It's electrical. And I have a YouTube explaining all of this. And then that opens up all these other doors because you can see what the electric process does and how it changes the color of the formations. And then you can use this as a marker and look all over the place and see where electrical removal has taken place. So it took 6.5 years, but finally I found what appeared to be electrical excavations that stand out, that really ripped much of the Southwest at the very end of the process. You can see that all the other layers have been deposited. So that this process, creating these electrical canyons, is the very end, and it seems to create molten dust, which downwind seems to create basalt layers at the very top of the formations, again, the very end of the process. So it took a long time, but I found electrical removal on Earth. It seems to be a no-brainer. There's just no way that water could explain these formations. There's no water available, and they go through high points. They don't stop at high points like something fluvial. So yeah, Zion Canyon is kind of the Rosetta Stone of electrical excavation for the planet Earth.